There was a time when lunchtime meant more than just a quick bite. Across America, families gathered around kitchen tables, workers opened well-worn lunch pails, and school cafeterias served meals that became unforgettable traditions. Many of those once famous lunches have quietly disappeared, replaced by modern convenience and changing tastes. But their stories are far from over. Today, we are taking a journey back through history to rediscover 15 iconic lunches that once filled homes, diners, and lunch counters across the country. Some may bring back cherished memories, while others might surprise you with how popular they once were. Let us step back in time and uncover the forgotten flavors that America almost left behind. Sloppy Joe. Long before fast food burgers dominated lunch breaks, one messy sandwich ruled school cafeterias, family kitchens, and neighborhood diners across America. The Sloppy Joe was not elegant, but that was never the point. It was affordable, hearty, and guaranteed to leave a napkin looking well used by the end of the meal. Most historians trace its origins to Sioux City, Iowa, during the early 1930s, where a cook named Joe reportedly added tomato sauce to loose meat sandwiches already popular in the Midwest. The simple change created a flavorful mixture that quickly earned the nickname Sloppy Joe, perfectly describing the delicious chaos of every bite. Ground beef simmered with onions, tomato sauce, ketchup, brown sugar, Worcestershire sauce, and a few family secret seasonings created a sweet and tangy filling that was spooned generously onto soft hamburger buns. Every household seemed to have its own recipe, with some adding green peppers, garlic, mustard, or a dash of chili powder to make it uniquely theirs. During the post-war years, the sandwich became a lunchtime legend. School cafeterias loved it because large batches could feed hundreds of students without stretching the budget. Busy parents appreciated that it could be prepared quickly after work, while children simply loved the bold flavor, even if wearing a clean shirt afterward was nearly impossible. Today, the Sloppy Joe survives in some homes, but it no longer enjoys the nationwide fame it once held. Health-conscious eating, gourmet sandwiches, and countless fast food alternatives slowly pushed this humble classic into the background. Yet for many Americans, one bite instantly brings back memories of cafeteria trays, family dinners around the kitchen table, and the comforting aroma of seasoned beef filling the house. Few lunches captured the spirit of everyday America quite like the unforgettable Sloppy Joe. Tuna noodle casserole. Few lunches tell the story of resourceful American families better than tuna noodle casserole. It was never considered fancy, yet for decades it occupied a permanent place on kitchen tables, church suppers, and leftover lunches. Warm, creamy, and filling, it transformed a handful of inexpensive pantry staples into a meal that could satisfy an entire family. The casserole rose to prominence during the 1940s and 1950s, when canned foods became symbols of convenience and modern living. Companies promoted canned tuna and condensed cream of mushroom soup as time-saving ingredients, encouraging homemakers to prepare hearty meals without spending hours in the kitchen. It was exactly the kind of practical recipe busy households needed. The classic version combined tender egg noodles, flaky canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, milk, sweet peas, and shredded cheddar cheese. A topping of crushed potato chips, buttered breadcrumbs, or crispy fried onions added the perfect crunch after baking until bubbling and golden. Every family proudly claimed their version was the best, often adding celery, mushrooms, or water chestnuts for extra flavor and texture. Beyond its affordability, tuna noodle casserole became a lunchtime favorite because it reheated beautifully. Leftovers packed easily into lunchboxes or were warmed for a quick midday meal, making it especially popular with working parents and school-age children. It was comfort food that stretched every grocery dollar while leaving no one hungry. As fresh ingredients and international cuisines gained popularity in later decades, this once-beloved casserole gradually disappeared from everyday menus. Many younger generations grew up without ever tasting it, viewing casseroles as relics of another era. Still, for countless Americans, the rich aroma of bubbling noodles and creamy tuna instantly recalls family kitchens, handwritten recipe cards, and simpler afternoons when a humble casserole was enough to bring everyone together around the table once again. Chicken a la king. There was a time when ordering chicken a la king made any lunch feel a little more elegant. Whether served at upscale hotel dining rooms, neighborhood restaurants, or family gatherings, this creamy classic represented comfort with a touch of sophistication. It looked impressive enough for guests but was simple enough to become a regular favorite in countless American homes. Although its exact origin remains debated, most historians agree the dish first appeared in the late 19th or early 20th century, possibly at one of New York City's grand hotels. Regardless of who created it, chicken à la king quickly became a nationwide sensation, especially during the 1950s and 1960s when creamy sauces and hearty casseroles defined American home cooking. The recipe featured tender pieces of cooked chicken folded into a rich cream sauce with butter, mushrooms, onions, and colorful pimentos. Some versions included green peppers or peas, while others added sherry for extra depth. The finished mixture was traditionally served over toast points, fluffy rice, biscuits, puff pastry shells, or buttered noodles, making it a versatile meal for both lunch and dinner. Its popularity also came from practicality. Families could transform leftover roasted chicken into an entirely new meal without wasting a single bite. Homemakers appreciated its flexibility, while guests admired its rich flavor and attractive presentation. It became a familiar sight at ladies' luncheons, holiday buffets, and Sunday gatherings where comfort and hospitality mattered just as much as the food itself. As American tastes gradually shifted toward lighter meals and international flavors, chicken à la king quietly disappeared from many restaurant menus. New generations rarely encountered the dish outside vintage cookbooks or family recipe boxes. Even so, those who remember it often recall the creamy aroma drifting through the kitchen and the comforting feeling of sharing a warm, homemade lunch that made an ordinary afternoon feel surprisingly special. Beef stroganoff. Few lunches captured the feeling of comfort and elegance quite like beef stroganoff. Rich, creamy, and deeply satisfying, it was once considered a special meal that could turn an ordinary afternoon into something worth remembering. Whether served in a family dining room or a neighborhood restaurant, this classic dish became one of America's favorite hearty lunches during the middle of the 20th century. Its story began far from the United States. Historians trace beef stroganoff to 19th century Russia, where it was believed to have been created for the wealthy Stroganov family. As the recipe traveled across Europe and eventually reached America, home cooks adapted it using ingredients that were easier to find. By the 1950s and 1960s, it had become a staple in American cookbooks and dinner parties, admired for bringing a taste of international cuisine into everyday kitchens. Traditional beef stroganoff featured tender strips of beef browned in butter, then simmered with onions and mushrooms before being finished with a velvety sour cream sauce. It was usually served over buttered egg noodles, fluffy rice, or mashed potatoes, creating a meal that was both filling and comforting. Many families added garlic, paprika, or fresh parsley, giving each recipe its own signature flavor. One reason the dish became so popular was its versatility. It could be prepared for a casual family lunch or dressed up for guests with very little extra effort. Leftover roast beef could even be transformed into a completely new meal, making it practical as well as delicious. As lighter eating habits and quicker lunch options became fashionable, beef stroganoff slowly faded from everyday menus. Yet for those who grew up enjoying it, the creamy sauce and tender beef still bring back memories of family gatherings, handwritten recipe cards, and a time when homemade lunches were meant to be shared slowly around the table with loved ones. Green bean casserole. No lunch buffet, church supper, or holiday gathering once felt complete without a steaming dish of green bean casserole. Creamy, comforting, and topped with crispy fried onions, it became one of America's most recognizable homemade recipes. For millions of families, it was more than a side dish. It was a tradition that appeared year after year, bringing familiar flavors to every table. The casserole was created in 1955 by Dorcas Riley, a home economist working for the Campbell Soup Company. Her goal was simple: develop an easy recipe using ingredients that were already sitting in most American pantries. The winning combination of canned green beans, cream of mushroom soup, milk, soy sauce, and crispy fried onions proved to be an instant success. Before long, the recipe appeared on soup labels, magazine pages, and handwritten family recipe cards across the country. Its greatest strength was convenience. Busy homemakers could prepare it in just minutes, slide it into the oven, and have a warm, satisfying dish ready with very little effort. The creamy mushroom sauce blended perfectly with the tender green beans, while the crunchy onion topping added a texture that made every bite memorable. Some families added shredded cheddar cheese, sliced mushrooms, bacon, or chopped almonds, giving the classic recipe their own personal touch. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, green bean casserole became a regular feature at weekday lunches, potlucks, and especially Thanksgiving dinners. It represented the growing popularity of practical cooking that saved both time and money without sacrificing comfort. Although fresh vegetables and healthier recipes have replaced it in many homes, this beloved casserole still returns to countless tables every holiday season. One spoonful instantly brings back memories of crowded family kitchens, warm conversations, and the comforting aroma of dinner baking in the oven while loved ones gathered together, waiting patiently for the meal to begin. Liver and onions. Few lunches divide opinions quite like liver and onions. To some, it was a meal they could not wait to eat. To others, it was the one dish they hoped would never appear on the table. Yet for much of the 20th century, this hearty classic was considered one of the healthiest and most economical lunches an American family could prepare. Long before expensive cuts of meat became common, families believed in using every part of the animal. Beef liver was inexpensive, easy to find, and packed with nutrients. During the Great Depression and the years surrounding World War II, stretching the grocery budget was essential, and liver became a dependable source of protein, iron, and essential vitamins. Doctors often recommended it to growing children and people recovering from illness because of its remarkable nutritional value. Preparing the dish required a little patience. Many home cooks soaked the liver in milk before cooking to soften its strong flavor. It was then lightly coated in flour, seasoned with salt and pepper, and pan-fried until just tender. Thick slices of onion slowly caramelized in butter were added on top, creating a sweet contrast that balanced the liver's rich, earthy taste. Served alongside mashed potatoes, buttered vegetables, or fresh bread, it became a filling midday meal that satisfied hardworking families. Restaurants, diners, and school cafeterias across the country regularly featured liver and onions on their lunch menus throughout the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. It represented practical cooking at its finest, where nutrition mattered just as much as flavor. As eating habits changed and younger generations leaned toward milder meats and processed convenience foods, this once famous lunch quietly disappeared from many tables. Still, for those who remember it, the aroma of sizzling onions and the unmistakable flavor of liver remain lasting reminders of an era when nothing went to waste and every meal served a purpose. Pineapple chicken. There was a time when adding fruit to a savory lunch felt exciting and modern, and no dish captured that trend better than pineapple chicken. Sweet, colorful, and full of tropical flair, it became a favorite in American homes during the 1950s and 1960s. Families who wanted to bring something different to the table often turned to this cheerful recipe, believing it offered a delicious taste of faraway islands without ever leaving the kitchen. Its popularity grew alongside America's fascination with Hawaiian culture after Hawaii became the 50th state in 1959. Tropical-themed restaurants, backyard luau's, and Polynesian-inspired recipes appeared everywhere, encouraging home cooks to experiment with sweet and savory combinations. Pineapple chicken quickly became one of the era's signature dishes, reflecting the country's growing curiosity about international flavors. The classic recipe paired tender pieces of chicken with juicy pineapple chunks, crisp bell peppers, and onions, all coated in a glossy sauce made from soy sauce, brown sugar, vinegar, and sometimes a touch of ginger. Served over fluffy white rice, it offered a balance of sweetness and tanginess that felt both comforting and adventurous. Some families even added water chestnuts or green onions for extra crunch and flavor. One reason the dish became such a lunchtime favorite was its versatility. Fresh pineapple worked beautifully, but canned pineapple made the recipe affordable and convenient all year long. Busy homemakers could prepare it quickly, and leftovers tasted just as delicious the next day. As American tastes gradually shifted toward more authentic Asian cuisine and less sugary sauces, pineapple chicken slowly disappeared from everyday menus. Many younger generations have never experienced this once famous classic. Yet for those who remember it, the aroma of simmering pineapple and chicken still recalls family dinners, colorful serving dishes, and a time when bringing a little tropical sunshine to the lunch table felt like a special occasion in every American home. Creamed chipped beef on toast, yes. Few lunches have a nickname as unforgettable as SOS, short for stuff on a shingle. While the military used a more colorful version of the phrase, generations of Americans came to know this humble meal as creamed chipped beef on toast. It was simple, filling, and inexpensive, making it one of the most recognizable comfort foods of the 20th century. The dish became especially popular during World War II, when it was regularly served to American soldiers in mess halls across the globe. Dried chipped beef had a long shelf life and required no refrigeration, making it ideal for military kitchens. Combined with a creamy white sauce and served over toasted bread, it provided a hot, satisfying meal that could be prepared quickly for hundreds of troops at a time. The recipe itself was wonderfully straightforward. Thin slices of dried beef were chopped and gently warmed in a rich bechamel sauce made from butter, flour, and milk. A dash of black pepper added just enough flavor, while thick slices of toasted bread soaked up every bit of the creamy sauce. Some home cooks added peas, mushrooms, or paprika, giving the classic recipe their own personal twist. After the war, returning veterans brought the dish home, and it soon appeared in diners, school cafeterias, and family kitchens across America. It became a dependable lunchtime favorite because it was affordable, easy to prepare, and made excellent use of pantry staples during times when stretching the grocery budget remained important. As fresh ingredients became more accessible and healthier eating habits gained popularity, creamed chipped beef slowly disappeared from everyday menus. Younger generations often know little about the dish beyond its unusual nickname. Yet for many veterans and families who grew up during the 1940s and 1950s, one taste still brings back memories of shared tables, simple meals, and an era when comfort often came from the most modest ingredients. Pimento cheese sandwich. Long before gourmet sandwiches filled cafe menus, one humble lunch quietly became a Southern icon. The pimento cheese sandwich was creamy, flavorful, and wonderfully simple, earning a permanent place in lunchboxes, church picnics, family gatherings, and afternoon socials. For generations of Americans, it was more than just a sandwich. It was a taste of home that required little effort but delivered plenty of comfort. Although pimento peppers originally came from Spain, the spread as Americans know it began taking shape in the early 20th century. As processed cheddar cheese became more widely available and commercial mayonnaise gained popularity, home cooks discovered that combining the two with diced pimentos created an inexpensive yet satisfying filling. Before long, the recipe spread throughout the South, where it became a beloved staple in homes and diners alike. The traditional mixture was made with sharp cheddar cheese, mayonnaise, chopped pimento peppers, and a pinch of salt and black pepper. Some families added cream cheese for extra richness, while others stirred in cayenne pepper, garlic powder, diced onions, or even chopped pickles. Spread generously between two slices of soft white bread, it created a lunch that was both creamy and surprisingly filling. The sandwich became especially popular because it was affordable and required no cooking. It could be prepared ahead of time for school lunches, packed for road trips, or served at community gatherings alongside potato chips and sweet tea. Its convenience made it a dependable favorite for busy households throughout the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. As artisan cheeses, deli meats, and international sandwich fillings became fashionable, the simple pimento cheese sandwich gradually faded from everyday lunch menus. Yet it never disappeared completely. Even today, one bite instantly recalls porch gatherings, family reunions, handwritten recipe cards, and the unmistakable warmth of Southern hospitality served between two slices of fresh bread. Spam sandwich. Long before gourmet deli meats and artisan sandwiches became lunchtime favorites, one canned product helped feed millions of Americans through some of the nation's most challenging years. The Spam sandwich was quick, affordable, and remarkably versatile, making it a familiar sight in lunchboxes, diners, military mess halls, and family kitchens across the country. While opinions about Spam have always been divided, its place in American food history is impossible to ignore. Introduced by Hormel Foods in 1937, Spam quickly became popular because it offered something many families needed: reliable meat that stayed fresh without immediate refrigeration. During World War II, millions of cans were shipped overseas to feed American troops, and after the war, returning servicemen continued enjoying it at home. Its convenience made it a practical solution for busy households and communities where fresh meat was not always readily available. The classic Spam sandwich could be prepared in several ways. Thick slices of Spam were often pan-fried until golden and slightly crispy before being layered onto soft bread with mustard, mayonnaise, lettuce, or sliced tomatoes. Others preferred it cold, while some added cheese, pickles, or scrambled eggs for a heartier lunch. Every family seemed to have its own favorite combination. Its popularity grew because it was inexpensive, filling, and easy to prepare within minutes. School lunches, fishing trips, road journeys, and weekend picnics frequently included Spam sandwiches, proving that simple ingredients could still create satisfying meals. In places like Hawaii, Spam became so beloved that it inspired entirely new local dishes, reflecting its lasting cultural influence. As consumers gradually turned toward fresher meats and healthier eating habits, the Spam sandwich faded from many American lunch tables. Yet it never disappeared entirely. For those who grew up with it, the unmistakable sizzle of Spam in a skillet still brings back memories of modest kitchens, family lunches, and an era when convenience and comfort often came from a single blue and yellow can. Pickled beet eggs. Bright purple on the outside and golden at the center, pickled beet eggs were once impossible to miss at roadside diners, church potlucks, and family holiday tables. Their striking color often caught people's attention before the first bite, but it was the tangy, slightly sweet flavor that kept them coming back. For decades, these colorful eggs were a lunchtime favorite across many parts of America. The dish has deep roots in Pennsylvania Dutch cooking, where preserving fresh foods was an important part of everyday life. Long before modern refrigeration became common, families relied on pickling to make ingredients last longer. Hard-boiled eggs placed in a mixture of beet juice, vinegar, sugar, and spices not only stayed fresh for days but also absorbed a beautiful ruby color that made them stand out on any serving platter. Preparing them required patience. After boiling and peeling the eggs, they were placed into jars with sliced beets and a flavorful pickling liquid. Over several days, the eggs slowly transformed, soaking up the sweet, tangy flavors while developing their signature purple exterior. Some recipes included cloves, cinnamon sticks, peppercorns, or onions, giving each family recipe its own distinctive character. Pickled beet eggs became especially popular as make-ahead lunches because they were inexpensive, portable, and packed with protein. They appeared in lunchboxes, deli counters, picnic baskets, and holiday buffets, offering a refreshing alternative to heavier meals. Their eye-catching appearance also made them a conversation piece at community gatherings. As fresh salads, refrigerated convenience foods, and international cuisine became more common, these colorful eggs gradually disappeared from everyday menus. Many younger Americans have never experienced this once-beloved tradition. Yet for those who remember opening a chilled jar of pickled beet eggs, every bite still recalls family kitchens, handwritten recipes, and a time when preserving food was both a practical skill and a cherished family tradition. Vienna sausages. Before refrigerated lunch meats filled grocery store shelves, countless American pantries held small cans of Vienna sausages ready for a quick and satisfying meal. Convenient, affordable, and requiring no preparation, these bite-sized sausages became a dependable lunch option for busy families, travelers, and anyone looking for a simple meal without much effort. Though often overlooked today, they were once a familiar staple in homes across the country. Despite their name, Vienna sausages evolved from European sausage-making traditions before becoming a uniquely American pantry favorite. During the years following World War II, canned foods symbolized convenience and modern living. As more households embraced ready-to-eat products, Vienna sausages gained popularity because they had a long shelf life, were inexpensive, and could be enjoyed almost anywhere without cooking. The classic version consisted of small smoked sausages packed in a light broth inside a compact can. Many people ate them straight from the can with crackers, while others paired them with mustard, pickles, cheese, or fresh bread to create a quick lunch. Some home cooks even sliced them into macaroni, baked beans, casseroles, or vegetable soups, stretching a single can into a hearty family meal. Their greatest appeal was practicality. They fit easily into picnic baskets, camping supplies, fishing trips, and emergency food cupboards. Children often enjoyed them as an after-school snack, while adults appreciated having a reliable meal available during busy workdays when there was little time to cook. As fresh deli meats, healthier eating habits, and less processed foods became more popular, Vienna sausages slowly disappeared from everyday lunch menus. Many younger Americans now associate them more with camping or emergency supplies than regular family meals. Still, for those who grew up seeing those familiar little cans in the pantry, Vienna sausages remain a nostalgic reminder of simpler lunches, practical kitchens, and an era when convenience often came in the smallest packages. Deviled ham spread. Long before supermarkets offered endless choices of sandwich fillings, one savory spread was a lunchtime favorite in homes across America. Deviled ham spread was creamy, flavorful, and incredibly convenient, making it a common sight at family picnics, school lunches, and afternoon tea gatherings. It proved that a simple jar or can could quickly become the centerpiece of a satisfying homemade meal. The spread first gained popularity in the late 19th century as food preservation methods improved and canned meats became more widely available. The word deviled did not refer to anything spicy in the modern sense. Instead, it described foods that were boldly seasoned with mustard, pepper, paprika, or other flavorful spices. Companies recognized that busy families wanted quick meal solutions, and deviled ham spreads soon became a pantry staple across the United States. The traditional recipe blended finely ground ham with mayonnaise, mustard, and a mixture of savory seasonings. Some homemade versions included chopped pickles, celery, onions, or a splash of vinegar to create extra texture and flavor. Spread generously onto soft white bread or crackers, it offered a rich, satisfying lunch that required no cooking at all. One reason for its widespread success was its remarkable versatility. It worked equally well in sandwiches, stuffed celery, tea sandwiches, or even as a dip for vegetables. Homemakers appreciated that it could be prepared ahead of time, making it perfect for entertaining guests or packing into lunchboxes during busy weekdays. As fresher deli meats, artisan spreads, and healthier eating habits became more popular, deviled ham spread gradually faded from everyday American kitchens. Many younger generations have never tasted this once famous lunch staple. Yet for those who remember it, the familiar savory aroma still brings back memories of neighborhood picnics, handwritten family recipes, and afternoons when a simple ham sandwich, made with care, was more than enough to satisfy both hunger and the heart. Stuffed tomatoes. Before colorful pasta salads and gourmet lunch bowls became popular, one elegant dish often stole the spotlight at American luncheons: stuffed tomatoes. Bright, refreshing, and beautifully presented, they were a favorite at ladies' clubs, garden parties, church gatherings, and summer family meals. Their simple appearance hid a flavorful filling that made them feel both light and satisfying. Stuffed tomatoes became especially fashionable during the 1950s and 1960s, when presentation was considered just as important as taste. Home entertaining reached new heights during these decades, and cooks loved serving dishes that looked impressive without requiring complicated techniques. A perfectly ripe tomato, carefully hollowed out and neatly filled, instantly added color and elegance to any luncheon table. The classic version featured ripe tomatoes filled with creamy chicken salad, tuna salad, egg salad, or seasoned rice. Some recipes included celery, chopped pickles, onions, or fresh herbs for extra flavor and crunch. After being chilled in the refrigerator, the tomatoes were served on crisp lettuce leaves, often accompanied by crackers, fruit, or a small cup of soup, creating a complete and refreshing midday meal. Their popularity came from more than appearance alone. They were economical, easy to prepare ahead of time, and ideal for warm weather when heavy hot meals felt less appealing. Homemakers appreciated how easily the fillings could be adapted using leftovers already in the refrigerator, reducing waste while creating something that looked completely new. As dining habits shifted toward quicker convenience foods and casual lunches, stuffed tomatoes gradually disappeared from everyday menus. Modern recipes focused less on decorative presentation and more on speed, leaving this charming classic behind. Yet anyone who remembers seeing those carefully filled tomatoes arranged on a serving platter can still recall a time when homemade lunches celebrated creativity, hospitality, and the simple joy of turning ordinary ingredients into something truly unforgettable. That wraps up our journey through 15 famous lunches that once brought families together and filled tables across America. While many of these classics have faded from restaurant menus and everyday kitchens, their stories continue to remind us of a time when simple ingredients created unforgettable memories. Which of these forgotten lunches do you remember, or which one would you love to try today? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this nostalgic trip through America's culinary past, be sure to like this video, subscribe to America's Lost Recipes, and join us next time as we uncover even more forgotten dishes history almost left behind.